Hi, I'm Ioana. I started work at IKAWA about a year ago, but I've been in the coffee industry for almost 10 years now, which is nice and exciting because I got to see many things changing, many things growing, including the IKAWA. I was a fan before I joined the company, so that was a fun time. And when I joined the company was also the moment I learned about the IKAWA home. Being in the coffee industry kind of makes you learn about this one first and then about the home version, I guess, if you're a professional. So obviously the first visual difference is that this one comes in black, just for easy separation, like a visual separation between the home and the pro. The shape is kind of where things stop being in common between those two machines. This is truly a pro-geared machine in both build and software that is being used on it. Unlike the home machine, this one, specifically the Pro 100, comes with two sensors, one inlet and one exhaust sensor. The newest version, the Pro 100X, comes with the third one for moisture release measurements during your roast. The app is very different. Again, it has a different interface and you can do very different things with it. Unlike the home app, you can edit, create new profiles, you can edit fan speed, you can expand your roast time all the way to 20 minutes, if that at some point is something you'd like to do. You have multiple temperature points you can add, multiple fan points you can add. You can look at much more data, just like dropping in temperature, your preheat temperature, starting point, end time, temperature, everything can be adjusted. Unlike the home one as well, this allows you to adjust your profile as you go. So if you're looking at your coffee, you set up your profile, you send it to the roaster and you're like, this doesn't look quite right, let me modify it. You can do so as you go and the roaster would pick it up immediately. In terms of capacity, we offer two different ones, a 50 grams and an 100 grams. This one specifically here, just like the name says, Pro 100 grams. This does come in very useful for roasters who are in slightly more remote areas and where shipment is a little bit more complicated, is a little bit more expensive. What happens is that traders will normally send like an 100-gram sample. So you have two chances at roasting that and cupping it and really making the most out of it. It's a really great tool to kind of learn more about your coffee, learn how to cup, learn how to roast your green, learn about your green, so you make the best decisions for your business, really. There's a space for IKAWA at pretty much every point across the chain. We have IKAWAs at origin, we have IKAWAs with traders, importers, exporters, cooperatives, everyone, and obviously roasters, labs, and at the educational centers. You can share roasting profiles and insights between users very easily. So for example, from my IKAWA to your IKAWA, I'm just gonna send this profile and I'm gonna be like, hey, this is what I roasted here in London. You're a little bit more up north, maybe, temperature is very different. You might need to do slight adjustments, but you already have that insight of like, oh, this is how she roasted. These are the results that she got. Let me see what I can get from this coffee. So it really enhances the communication, which comes in very handy between a producer and either like an exporter, trader, or a roaster, if they have this direct relationship.
That's interesting, because now you've created a standard, right? And you're removing a variable.
Exactly.
You mentioned sharing recipes between users, which I think is a great little feature. That's only available on the Pro, correct? Not available on the Home, because presumably there's fewer variables to share to begin with, right? If you wanted to on the Home, you can just describe them, I suppose.
Sort of. And it's because the way that the profiles are built, there's not as much data visible and shareable between profiles. Well, this one really captures a lot of that data in real time.
Trying to put myself in the shoes of a roaster here.
Yes.
Admittedly, an incredibly ignorant roaster. Do you want to walk me through, almost like a sales pitch if you want, like why would I want to have this as opposed to potential competitors?
I think one of the advantages of IKAWA overall is always been the consistency. Because of the way it has been built and the way we basically take this data out, it just makes the roaster very repeatable, right? So it has a build that keeps the environment very closed, and then the like hardware and software behind it just makes it very, very repeatable. Because like you get information very fast, things are being very accurately followed. Yes, I would think that's mainly one of the biggest and nicest things around it. And then there's basically everything you can do with it. So like I said, you can start with sampling your green. You're a roaster, you need to buy green coffee for your business. What are you roasting on? Most traders will be sending you 50 to 100 grams samples. There's not enough to put on a production roaster, and it would be way too expensive for you to get something that can be put on a production roaster. And then with a production roaster, you only get one shot. With a Pro 50, for example, like I said, you already have 2 shots. Then obviously there's more you can do with it. You get your green, you're like, okay, I roasted it, this tastes great, I'm gonna buy this coffee. Your coffee gets delivered in 8 months. You need to try it again. You need to quality check it again. You need to start somewhere with some more information about that coffee before you put it in a production roaster. This is where this comes in handy again. Another very cool thing, obviously, is if you're training for something, if you're training for cupping, if you're training for a competition, if you're just trying to improve your skill, instead of having to waste a production roast or coffee that you buy from various places, you use this. You already have it in your roastery for sampling, you might as well utilize it for this as well. You need to profile a new coffee. Okay, cool. I can just experiment with a small amount of coffee instead of having to go through so many test roasts. And with the newest version, which is the Pro 100X, like I mentioned, that comes with a moisture release graph, that's even a better indicator of how coffee behaves during roast and when should you counteract with heat. Which for some of our users has come in very handy, and they have designed their roast curves based on this data and have managed to reduce their test roasts from 3 to 4 to 1.4 on average, which for some roasters means bags, 60 kilo bags that are just no longer wasted.
That the profile here will always be the same.
Exactly. It's like, obviously you have to set that profile.
Yeah.
And if you're a beginner, if you're like a true beginner, you're just starting your roasting journey, we have an online profile library where you can go and select like pre-made profiles for certain regions that will work nicely with the category of coffees, with quite an extensive category of coffees. And it is as simple as opening this up, taking it out, plugging it in, and you start, and you can go roasting in like under 2 minutes. But there's also enough features on the app which controls the roaster to go as diverse as you need to and as far, as detailed as you need to.
And I love the case.
The belly case is coming in very handy, in all honesty.
Traveling
it definitely
right?
is. So IKAWA is very portable. Like I said, we do have it with traders, importers, exporters, and at farm. And this is one of the most important part for them. Like, they need to be able to move it places safely. And this ensures that. But at the same time, these together are 10 kilos in total, so you can put it on your like overhead compartment in a plane easily. If you just lift it like by itself, it's very light.
Nice.
Even though the case is metal.
Yeah, actually I picked up one when I was on the production line earlier, and a lot of the gadgets you buy, they are metal, but they're really flimsy and everything.
Yes.
And this is quite hefty.
It's very, very robust. So these are actually like case like aluminium, and it's literally just like a big pile, big line that just gets cut into shape.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there's like no option for like cracks or anything like that.
How do you gather your feedback, and how do you decide on what features to prioritize, what is important, and then maybe at some point, if anything, does go into the home machine?
Yeah. About what goes into the home machine, I don't think I have a lot to say. That's not really my area of expertise. Like I said, I am marketing, and that's why we have product people who know what they're doing, and they're very good at what they're doing. So the way the feedback loop goes around is just like most of the time, our community is quite involved and quite vocal. And they would be just like, hey, this is happening, or hey, I'm using this feature for something completely different than you have designed it for. And then we're like, oh, that's very interesting. Let's see some more about it. And this information reaches our product team. They discuss it, they test it, they see if it's something that maybe more people would benefit from, if it can be modified, if it can be advanced. And based on literally the needs of our users. We're a very user-centric company, and all of our design is based off of that, really. It's just feedback from the community being like, I would love my roaster to do this. And I'm like, cool, let's see if we can make it happen. Let's see if it's viable. Let's see if it works with the other features we have, if it doesn't off-balance anything, if things are still working. Well, most of the time we will address those needs and just put it in the machine, really.
And as a roaster, I've done my test roasting on the IKAWA.
Yeah.
Are there any, how would I transfer the parameters to my production roaster?
Yes.
And are there any preferences? Again, I'm speaking as an ignorant roaster. Is there a roaster that is a better pair for the IKAWA, or like a production roaster that is a better pair than another one, or like a make that you prefer, or it doesn't really matter?
So there is no direct translation. I will have to start from that. There's no direct translation from any sample roaster to a production roaster, because you're working with a different capacity and a different type of heat application, ultimately. There's data that this roaster can give you. Like, I was mentioning earlier with the moisture release graph, which is telling you just like when is coffee releasing moisture, how do I counteract with heat, which is very useful in creating your roasting curve for a production roaster. But that's kind of where it stops. You can't take like an IKAWA roasting curve, press play, and you put it into a production. We don't have a preferred combination. We did notice that within the community, there's a love for IKAWA and Loring. Okay. Not something we endorse. There's no partnership or anything like that. It's just we've seen this combination quite often. Probably because of the heat application on Loring and like the benefits that they have, sustainability and all that. I don't know that much about Loring. But we've seen this combination quite often, and people have a relatively good feedback to this combo. We have very successful stories, if you wish. A very good example in this case would be the guys from Square Mile, for example. Like, they're roasting on 3 other different machines. They're taking their data from a Pro 100 and a Pro 100X and then multiplying it to a 15 kilo, 30 and 60. So it is very much possible.
Any plans for a larger capacity roaster?
Oh God, this is everyone's favorite question. So we've been asked this like many times. It's like, can you just make a big IKAWA? And the very short answer is we can't just make a big IKAWA. It obviously, like, the physics that exist in the world that we live in wouldn't allow us to just make this 10 times bigger and run away with it. We are on a very interesting partnership venture into production roasting with the guys from Bueller Group. Yes. It's going to be exciting. Not necessarily an IKAWA big roaster, but more to come in the future.
An IKAWA inspired or influenced roaster.
Maybe.
What are some common objections that you see from coffee professionals when faced with one of these, and how do you address them?
Why don't you just make it bigger? That's really it. That's literally what we get every single time. The majority of the feedback we've seen, it's been pretty great. We've seen a few things about like issues that occur sometimes. It's like, I dropped my jar, it broke, or it got shipped and mishandling during the trips. I was just like, I got my stuff and it's broken. Can you please fix it? And we always address this with, you know, open arms, open heart, open mind. But no, not that much. I think size is probably the thing that gets mentioned the most. But at the same time, size correlates to this consistency that we've talked about so much. So yes, that would be literally the main thing we hear. Some
small roasters that we work with, at least, they are kind of on a budget, so they would struggle a little bit. So presumably the cost would be a factor for them to maybe think twice before buying one of these, because if you experiment with a lot of coffees, presumably you make up for the roaster with what you save on not wasting coffee. But maybe if you have less variety, maybe that's harder to do, right? So this is literally, there's multiple things I could address in this way, to be honest. So you could compare this in the way of just like, think about a camera. You have your point and shoot, and that's IKAWA Home. And this is the DSLR version, upgraded, you know, everything, has everything, comes with the bag and all of that stuff. So I think most of our users do understand why the price point is the way it is. However, we do offer quite a big range of price points. We offer refurbished machines. Because this is built the way it is built, we are able to take older machines and simply fix them up, clean them up, and offer warranty for another year again, and they can be used for another 10, 12 years, however long you want to use it. We offer the Pro 50, Pro 100, and Pro 100X, which is our top of the line. So within this range, most people would be able to find an accommodating spot, but we also offer financing options. So for those people that are really price sensitive, but at the same time they understand that they need a very high quality machine, they're keen on growing, they're keen on learning, we do offer those options too. Presumably you do a trade-in for the Pro as well. So if you start with the 50 and then you want to... So let's say that you have a refurbished machine, you start with a refurbished machine, and in 3 years your roastery has been doing great, you've been growing, your needs are growing, you're like, oh, I maybe want something slightly bigger if you started with a Pro 50, for example, because I need someone to just run samples on it and cup the whole week type of situation. And then you're like, okay, I want to upgrade. We offer a credit against the older machine, because like I said, we're always able to fix it up, polish it, make it like new, and it becomes the machine of someone else. And then they can upgrade with a smaller price. I would probably add to the thing of just like, most people purchase it as a sample roaster, and that's really what it is at its core. But it comes in so much handier when you're trying to expand, especially as a one-person operation. Because this is pretty much hands-off type of machine. So you start your roast, you leave it there, and that's fine. Like, you can leave your beans roasted here, you don't have to take them out because the machine is already cooled, and you're just like checking your email, you're answering something, you're on your production, and that's fine.